listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering, do or die around me. You say your last goodnight while I
Prayer is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Cyborg.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldiers, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome into tonight's episode of Talking with Feisty. And I just want to say, y'all just don't know how excited I am that I am having Feisty come in and talk to me. I am a big, big fan of Feisty. So I found Feisty years ago on Telegram, and bar none, best digger that I ever saw. Never got enough credit, or people stole her work, definitely. And then I had to get off Telegram because it raided my phone. So I deleted the app, and then I couldn't see Feisty anymore. And then a few months back, my friend Tammy said, "Hey, are you going to watch Sean's and Feisty's dig?" And I said, "What, Feisty? Are you talking about Feisty? So I am very excited about this. So to my crew, I know most of the people here tonight are Feisty's crew, our little army, her little diggers. Welcome in. I'm glad y'all are coming over to my channel to see her. And all of my channel, you're not going to regret tuning in tonight, I promise you. And with that, the floor is yours, my dear, to tell everybody about yourself.
Tell everybody about myself. I'm a person with way too much time on my hands, and I've been doing my dancing across the keyboard now for so many years, long before Q. And I guess I'm the quintessential contrarian, because it's like, there's a different story here. This is not adding up, and I have to go find it. I'm compelled to do that. You know that, right?
Yes. Oh, I do. Because
I have
nothing,
no
was,
choice.
nothing was ever satisfied until she could see the full picture.
I have to see how we got there, not just what's going on, but how did we get there? Because then you can start to see how it's being solved, and you know what to go look for, to look at, are these solutions being put in place? And it helps you to check up on what your government officials are doing to actually solve the problems, the real problems that we face.
And there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
A lot.
And there's also a lot of noise to keep you from seeing too much of it, because it'll, upend a lot of the planning.
That's why I played that War thing, because I don't think people realized how much of a psychological war we truly have been in.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we are still being indoctrinated, although people don't want to admit that, they think they're awake. But you're falling for the same crap over and over and over,
Right.
and never come out of the full picture of what you're being told and look at it with new eyes, with no preconceived notions, and look at what you're seeing before making a decision.
I think a lot of people need easy answers.
Yeah.
And the psychological warfare does that. It gives you easy answers. And it puts you back to sleep. And you miss a lot of what's going on because you wanted the easy answer to begin with. Because the harder answer requires you to stay awake.
And requires you to keep an open mind. It requires you to look for the truth.
Well, it compels you once you realize that what you're being told may not be the truth. You have no choice but to go search for the truth. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. So for me, I was never one to just accept the party line. I never have been like that.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what about this? How does that figure in? And I usually shut down conversations because they can't or won't answer those questions. That's when I know you're feeding me a line, right?
Absolutely. And I started out as somebody, trust issues.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what. I didn't trust what I was being told.
Nor should you have.
No. And then people would label me the tinfoil hat person, and I'd be like, okay, if you think you're hurting my feelings with that, you're crazy, because you're not. And I like to see the full picture. I mean, I'm human. I do come up with, preconceived notions, but then I pull myself back and say, that seems a little too easy. And so my point that I wanted you on so badly is because the Epstein stuff is like eating everybody alive. And I don't think people are taking themselves back and looking at it not from what they're being told or what the little influencers are pushing out there, but using their own mind to decide for themselves and looking at actual evidence and not, I don't even know what to call it, but bullshit, as being called evidence. That's what it is. 90%, maybe not 90, 80%, is all hearsay crap in the Epstein files. None of it is valid proof of anything. Now, there are some really... Are you muted?
Yes, somehow I did. There is some really interesting stuff in there, but if you're going in to look for proof of money laundering, I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
You're looking for proof of human trafficking or child sex trafficking. I haven't seen that yet. What I have seen, and they added to the files the FBI tip line, which is all hearsay. And the FBI themselves have said that none of it panned out. So it takes you back to what Kash Patel has said about, and Dan Bongino when he was there, what they've said about what they've seen. There's no evidence of a perp list. There's no evidence that Epstein trafficked anyone other than to himself. And it's like, step back for a minute. What does it mean to traffic somebody to yourself? It means you procured a prostitute.
Exactly.
Right. And that is an illegal act, right? Because that makes a victim. And he was held accountable for that.
Yep.
But I found conversation where he talked to a prosecutor that said, you were held more accountable than anybody else similarly situated. Having talked to all of the victims, none of them were victims. They were prostitutes. Okay. So we're calling him a sex maniac, a trafficking maniac, a pedophile, and none of that is true. So what is going on? That's what drives me. If I can debunk all of that, if I know he wasn't laundering money, which plenty of contracts in the Epstein files proves he's not laundering money. We already know that Epstein made the bulk of his money off of derivatives. In fact, I showed an email that proved that today, an email thread. He made most of his money from the derivatives market. He's also very tapped in around the world. In fact, Epstein himself considers himself an influence peddler, if you will. He built this huge network because he had this insatiable need to have information. And so he made sure in his network were people that could give him that information. So he was what you would call an influence broker or peddler. His network was bar none. And then on top of that, he added to his network some unseemly networks like the Helper Network. Those unseemly networks kept him tapped into the dark side of the moon, right? He was able to see things. And so it was clear to me when Epstein says to Bannon, do you know Bill Barr? And he leaves a space and goes CIA. I knew what he was talking about. Because Bill Barr.
Before we do that, I'm just going to tell everybody. Okay, so before we get into it, because I'm telling you, when Feisty starts dropping the stuff here, it's going to blow your mind. So I want you to clear your mind of all preconceived things that you have been told. And Duppy has found you over here on Unpilled. He said, aha, found Feisty.
Hi, Duppy. Miss you, Duppy. I hope you're doing okay because I really have been praying for you heavily.
So clear your mind of all preconceived things that you have been told about Epstein so that when you hear what Feisty has to say, you will see it from clear, unblurred eyes of other information. That is the key to being able to see through the fog of war that these people have created. Clear your mind before she presents the evidence tonight.
Yes, please, please, please do not. And I've already seen that people have a hard time hearing what I'm saying because they think they know what's going on.
Yeah.
When I present something that's a little bit different than that, they're like, I don't get it.
So you're saying, and can everybody please hit the like button and repost on Rumble for me? It helps for people to see the show afterwards. And on Pilled, hit the red pill and the repost. I'm trying to build my network on both platforms. So if you could please do that, I would greatly appreciate it. It's the best way you can support me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And with that, I am going to open the floor to...
You did that already.
Oh, no, I'm opening it up wide now. Now I'm giving you full platform here so that you can show people how their preconceived notions have been holding them back from actually seeing a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to share.
Well, I don't know where to begin other than, because I just did this on my show too, maybe some background. Maybe that'll help.
That will be good start.
Okay, so like I said, I was really curious. What is really going on? Why was all this energy put into investigating Epstein? And for God's sakes, why would we paint a persona of a quote bad boy when, I'm sorry, procuring prostitutes is all around us. And
I was going to say,
it went global that he was a convicted pedophile when he wasn't. So what's up here? And then as I go through these files, one of the things that was clear to me is I don't think I'd already suspected it, but it was confirming for me that I don't think people really know who Jeffrey Epstein is.
yep.
They don't totally get him at all. There's the public persona of who he is and what the media told you to think about him, but he was a much deeper. He's actually an extremely, extremely intelligent person, and he recognized that the people he was dealing with, political people he was dealing with, they didn't understand money at all. They had no clue about it, and he did. He got it. He got the fractional reserve part of it. He got how the bank could have $1 and lend it out 10 times. He understood all of that intimately, and so he had people asking him for advice all the time. He would give really classy, top-notch advice for people who were trying to navigate through the system. So far, I don't see a bad guy. Man, I want him as my financial manager, right?
He obviously had a way with procuring money, that's for sure.
He made the bulk of his wealth is made from derivatives, the derivatives market from the 90s through the crash in 2008. He made a ton of money.
Yeah.
And I know everybody, because I immediately got asked the question, what about Les Wexner? I'm just going to tell you right now, there's over 6 million documents. I have a checklist that I've been going through. I'll just show you. It's several pages long, right? It's as you can see. And I've been systematically going through the checklist looking for things to try to figure out the story. I haven't gotten through it all. I'm not going to pretend to tell you I've read all the files. Virtually impossible. And I'm not going to pretend to tell you I have the whole story because I don't. What I do have is an Epstein that nobody else is talking about. I hope that makes sense. Does that
make sense to me? And by the way, if anybody has a question for Feisty on something she says that you need clarification, or I guess even if you're going to go against her, you are welcome to put it in the chat and we will address it. Just do it in a responsible and non-disgusting way. Don't be rude about it. But if you have an issue with something, bring it up respectfully.
Please. We do this every night in chat.
If you have a question for her, ask. She don't mind answering questions. And I've already got one that popped up and I knew.
Yes, and if I can explain that, Weaver, let me give you some background first, okay? So I don't know if you guys have seen my Rothstein dig. Do you know about my Rothstein dig?
No, I've never been able. I have not sat down for the Rothstein one yet.
Okay. What I found in the Rothstein dig was this interesting issue where they leveraged Epstein's legal issues in 2008, and they created this Ponzi scheme that where one of the members, Rothstein was the head of a major law firm down in southern Florida, and they created this Ponzi scheme with Bradley Edwards. Actually, Bradley Edwards is currently the attorney that you keep seeing all over the place. He represents a lot of the victims. And in this Ponzi scheme, they created fake witnesses or fake testimonies of fake victims. Names, everything is all fake. And then they sold it. They made it a commodity and they sold them to investors. And one of the people that was involved in the scheme was a regional vice president for TD Bank. You know TD Bank. TD Bank, he had a couple of kids create a website that looked like TD Bank's website, and it had what they call all of these lock letters. which were letters that were designed to show that there was this amount of money that was being sought in a lawsuit. And then they would say, well, the girls are only looking for $1 million or $1.5 million. And then what they did was they made the rest a commodity. And these wealthy people, stupid but wealthy people, would bid on them. You know, they would invest in them with the idea of making a big return on whatever that lock letter said. So where the lawsuit would be for maybe $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, and the girls were getting $1.5 million, then you can see that they would say, well, for $1 million, I can get 20 million. And it really is amazing because there's no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. But these people obviously played along. The Ponzi scheme that they developed around Epstein was already mirroring a Ponzi scheme that Rothstein had. And if you go to YouTube and look up Filthy Rich Rothstein, there was a series called Filthy Rich, and Rothstein was exposed on one of them, and it talks about his Ponzi scheme. And it's an interesting segment. So in 2008, I'm sorry?
It's Filthy
Rich.
Just Filthy Rich?
Mm-hmm. And then there's a segment there for Rothstein.
All right, let's...
it was a series that was on TV.
I am trying to see if I can pull it up so that I can put the link in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can.
Oh, Netflix. There it is. Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell.
It's on YouTube as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling up. All right, I'm trying to find the Rothstein one.
Netflix did Surviving Epstein, which plays into this story. But that's not the same one that I want to talk about.
Yeah, because this one is talking about, it's called The Full Story on Jeffrey Epstein Revealed. Yeah, so I'm not pulling up the correct one.
No, I'm finding it. Here it is. Well, I don't know if this is the right one. No, that isn't it. If you look up Scott Rothstein in YouTube, you will find a whole lot of stuff about him. I'm looking for Filthy Rich. Anyway, as I look for that, let me give you the rest of the story. So, in 2008, Epstein is charged, indicted, and found guilty of procuring 2 prostitutes. And one of the prostitutes is listed as underage. And in actuality, that prostitute, it was on the eve of her 18th birthday. So she really technically wasn't. But he was charged and found guilty for procuring these 2 prostitutes. He actually spent time in solitary confinement from June until the non-prosecution agreement in like September or October. In fact, it was even later than that, because in September, when the market started crashing, Epstein was in prison. He was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he wasn't even, he was behind bars at that time. So this is 2008. In 2009, January 2009, Virginia Giuffre files a lawsuit against Epstein for sexual abuse. She wasn't even used in the case against him in 2008.
Which should make people wonder.
Should have made them already question.
What's going on here?
She didn't come up until the 2019 saga started. Anyway, she files a lawsuit against him for sexual abuse, which then spurs Bradley Edwards goes to Rothstein in April of 2009, so they got an idea. And they start with this whole Ponzi scheme. It gets taken down in 2010, and Rothstein is currently sitting in prison for 50 years for that Ponzi scheme. It was the largest one ever, $1.2 billion or $1.4 billion Ponzi scheme. Wow. Largest. It puts, what's his name to shame. So now he's in prison, and he was told by the FBI that if he told the truth, they could get him a lighter sentence. So he sits in December of 2011. He sits for 10 days worth of proffers, where he tells the whole story for 10 days. So all of the investors sued him, and in those proffers, the depositions he gave, he's giving the entire story, how everything was formed, everything was done. And he thought he was doing it so he could get a lesser sentence. And when he was all done, he questions, okay, what's my lesser sentence? And the FBI says, are you kidding me? You should have gotten 100 years. So he actually rolls on El Chapo a bit. And he gets moved to what everybody calls a witness protection prison. And that's where he is right now. He's on ice there. So this is all in 2011-12, okay? It's really interesting what's happening after that, because now Epstein is under investigation. People are complaining about the non-prosecution agreement. The victims in particular are complaining. And we already are questioning who's the victims, because are they the Rothstein victims or are they the Epstein victims? You know, there's kind of a difference there. Well, an action started in 2018. Well, I don't know if you know the guy named Cernovich.
Then I recognize the name.
Okay, Cernovich and Miami Herald decided to petition the court to release the Epstein files. And everybody went running to the court because they were afraid, because as Trump said, and he's right, there's a lot of innocent people in those files. But they were concerned that the innocent people would be exposed and it could cause a problem. And we're already seeing that happen.
Yep.
So the government starts to paint Epstein as this raging pedophile. And in 2018 and 2019, with the help of Gouffre and these supposed victims, they're painting him as this pedophile who trafficked women. A ghost in the machine kind of stuff, right? So by 2019, Epstein is now, he was arrested, and in the timing of the arrest coincides with the Mueller report. You've got to go backwards. What was going on? They were trying to cover up the whole idea that they were illegally surveilling people. It's called fruit of the poisonous tree. So when Trump made it into office, they had to create the conditions that would force a special counsel, because they needed to find a crime so that they could cover up the illegal surveillance. So everything they had done before, they could cover it up. Well, they put everything they had into the Mueller report, and it came back it's a nothing burger. And as a result of that nothing burger, they were lost. What do we do now? And within 3 weeks or 4 weeks of that Mueller report came out the May 19th or whatever, Epstein, or a little later, somewhere around May 19th, so it's about 5 weeks later, Epstein is arrested in early July. And why? Because he's a pedophile connected to Trump. This is 2019. So in August, Epstein did not kill himself. The day after, the court in Florida said release those 2008 documents. So that notice from the court, the order from the court to release and unseal those documents from the 2008 case, happened on August 9th. August 10th, Epstein did not kill himself. But what happened right after that? We had this perfect phone call with Zelensky, remember?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. That was the whole first impeachment, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
So now they're running out of options, right?
And you can see it if you're actually paying attention and pulling yourself up. Mm-hmm. You can see that everything they're trying to do, they're running out of options, so they're becoming more and more desperate.
Right.
So that's why.
So right after the Zelensky thing, and you can follow this timeline right through. right after Zelensky. They got hit with the Hunter Biden laptop, which I can prove that's another story another time, is also BS, but it was designed to counter them. And if you recall, 51 intelligence people came out and said it was Russian disinformation. Well, it's an actual laptop. It was an actual thing that happened. Right after that happens in October. You got the impeachment starts in the House drew up the impeachment documents. Nancy Pelosi sat on them until January. You remember this, right?
Yes, I do.
January 2020. The day that she walks those over that they're walked over to the Senate is the same day that Trump signs a trade agreement with China, which is interesting timing. And then right after that, we start hearing about Ghislaine. Now, for what it's worth, Ghislaine was cleared of everything back in 2008. Why? She didn't even live with Epstein. She wasn't his girlfriend. She was dating another guy named Ted Waite. Ted Waite is the CEO of Compaq Computers. There was a bit of a kerfuffle there. They called Ted Waite, and he ended up, rather than be blackmailed like that, he ended up breaking off his relationship with her. Crushed her. So that's back in the day, right? So here we are, all of a sudden, you got Virginia Giuffre doing, she's the mastermind, she's the groomer, and then Robeson, who actually worked for Epstein, flipped and said, well, I'm kind of like the Heidi Fleiss.
And that's a big key point, everybody. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who Heidi Fleiss is.
She was a recruiter for
the madam.
Girls. She was a madam. And here's Robeson saying that she's the Heidi Fleiss for Epstein. She used to be one of Epstein's employees doing this, and then turned around and claimed herself a victim. And then that gives you kind of an insight that maybe there's a sting going on, but I don't know. And then finally they arrest Ghislaine in 2020. And all of a sudden this whole Epstein thing started again. It was always going to be a millstone around Trump.
Oh, yeah.
What do we have? We're in the middle of COVID. They're using COVID to steal the election with the mail-in ballots. You got the whole Ghislaine Maxwell. What was the purpose? To sour people's vote for Trump in the 2020.
Yeah.
Because remember, if you recall, they kept pinning Ghislaine to Trump. So
right.
I'm still looking at all this going, okay, I can see this pattern happening. I was already not on that train. You know, when Epstein got arrested, I went, something's not making sense here. So I was already starting to step back. I didn't fully step back until the Hunter Biden laptop in October of 2019. It's like, you know what? There's a lot of BS being slung. Finally, we have Ghislaine, who's now arrested. And I did a whole thread on Ghislaine Maxwell about her prison number. I don't know if you know about it, but that whole, I woke up one morning and said, I want to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. And I go through the whole prison number thing. Her prison number doesn't match either New Hampshire, where she was apprehended, or New York, where they supposedly had her in prison. Her prison number matches that of a military base, Fort Bragg to be specific, which I always found interesting. And I went through that whole thread to explain this prison number isn't the usual prison number.
Well, I kind of think about it too. What's his name was put in Witsec in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of seeing Ghislaine as not completely being Witsec, but kind of on that same path. They're protecting her.
Mm-hmm.
But not for the reasons people think. Like we were asked, does Ghislaine's father's publishing company play a role? Is she playing the good daughter to keep the deception hidden?
I honestly, when I look into, first of all, how evil is the man that was murdered? Or is the evil that murdered him? Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair question, don't you think?
Yep.
When you understand Promise software and understand that it was our own CIA through DARPA that retrofitted it to be an espionage tool, he's selling the tool. What did he know about it? I don't know. I can't answer that question. but it wasn't the CIA or DARPA that was found naked floating in the ocean.
That's
It was
right.
her father.
That's right.
Okay. Just so we're clear,
Yep.
somebody was off in him. And when he was murdered, then of course Epstein takes her under his wing. And she was a bit naive, by the way. If you listen to her proffer, he has sex with her. She thought that meant that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Right?
Yeah,
So
she
she's
was obviously very naive.
very naive. So this very naive person suddenly became a madam and a groomer? No.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I'm just the holes abound. So why is she in prison? I think part of it is to protect her. But there's a bigger story happening. A much bigger story.
And herein lies where her dig that she did the other day about had me floored. And then today I came off the couch on what she showed. So, because she did a dig on the messages between Steve Bannon and Epstein. And most people that show that are only giving you a clip. They're giving you a brief clip of what they want to put out what they want. Feisty don't play that game. If she's going to do it, she wants to see the totality of it. So
Well, I
she can
try.
put it in context. Unlike what these influencers do, where they pull a statement and they're like, this proves, and it don't prove nothing.
Well, I think by now we're adult enough to realize that people are forming narratives
Yep.
and supporting it with half truths, if it's true at all.
Right.
And I think we're adult enough to know that we've all been duped, but we should be learning our lessons.
You would think, but I see people falling down the same thing time after time, and
well, that's why I question a lot of the things going on, because I'm looking at some of this stuff going, this doesn't fit that narrative. And if it doesn't fit the narrative, then you owe yourself that opportunity to go figure out what the truth is, right?
Right.
And so when I look at things like Ken Starr advising Epstein to nominate Kavanaugh, and Epstein telling Bannon, nominate Kavanaugh because he's reliable, and says Chevron, and Chevron doesn't come up in the courts until many years later, you start to see the long game. And that long game was planned way before. In fact, Amy Coney Barrett was on the short list for that nomination in 2018. But they wanted Kavanaugh, which now explains why they fought so hard to keep Kavanaugh off the bench. Chevron is the biggest deep state tool there is. And when they overturned I'm sorry.
Explain a little bit to everybody. I know your people know.
Okay. So the Chevron
my
decision.
people don't realize the Ken Starr Chevron thing going on here.
So first of all, Ken Starr, his claim to fame is as special counsel to investigate Clinton. Kavanaugh was on his team. In fact, Kavanaugh is the person that crafted most of the support to find Clinton guilty of lying to Congress. So when it came time to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who had just passed on, the solution was to nominate Amy Coney Barrett. But then Ken Starr stepped in and said, he's bright, great guy. You need to get Kavanaugh. I'm happy to talk about it. And Epstein says to Bannon, he's reliable because of Chevron. Let me go back and explain Chevron. Chevron is a deep state tool. It was a decision in the 70s for Chevron, the company Chevron, against Chevron. And what it really focused on was that the law that the court was expected to adjudicate the argument against was so vague that they literally deferred to the regulatory agencies or the deep state. And so it became the standard that if the court could not understand the plain language of the law, then they would defer to the regulatory agencies until the Chevron decision was overturned. It was probably one of the largest administrative tools that there ever was. Now it's gone. So, and it's gone because Kavanaugh's on the bench, which now you get why they fought so hard to keep him from the bench.
Absolutely. When you were explaining that, I was like, I get it now, why we brought up all these people from making claims, same claims.
Right. Well, sexual abuse is a common claim because you're not going to find an attorney to defend you against sexual assault from 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? How do you can't defend yourself. It's her word against yours. And if you remember, it comes out there that a rape victim must be believed. We must listen to them. We must
that was
them.
the whole the Me Too movement. That's what it was called.
Right. And so now when Kavanaugh, I don't think anybody had on their bingo card that, Kavanaugh had a set of calendars that went back to his teenage years. And he was able to prove, no, these dates don't match. I was here. I was not there. I thought that was a wow moment in my view. So
it was quite epic. That's for sure.
Yeah. Nobody had that on their bingo card. So now that have Kavanaugh on and we're going to get Chevron overturned, let's get back to, we need a millstone, because now they know Kavanaugh's on the bench. Chevron, it's only a matter of time. It's on life support. Now we've got to keep him out of office permanently. And that's where Ghislaine Maxwell again comes back in. And part of the problem with the Ghislaine Maxwell story is she was not allowed to defend herself. In fact, they tried to get her for 2 counts of perjury, and they had to sever it. Why? Because if you're being held accountable to something and you're in a court of law, you have the right to face your accusers. They didn't have any accusers. They're Jane Doe 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Who does she face? She also wasn't allowed to present a full defense. So she ended up being railroaded through the system, and she sits in prison for 20 years.
Like I said, we're laying the foundation work here so y'all can see how I came flying out of my couch today. The other night I had my mind blown. But
when I showed you the Kavanaugh piece, right?
Yes. The Kavanaugh, and then the
crypto.
The breakdown between Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein, that blew my mind. Mm-hmm. Because that was the most concise, understandable way, because you took it in its entirety, not in bits and pieces.
Right.
And it was like...
Well, it was interesting because, remember, I had also broken down on a previous show with Sean about the victims, and I went through their background, who were their lawyers, the money they earned, who's connected to whom. You got Gloria Allred, you've got known corrupt attorneys.
That was last week on Feisty Digs, wasn't it? Where you did the breakdown.
I don't remember which show it was on. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to pull up Sean or Prairie Fire.
I think it was on the show that I did with Sean and Mary.
Okay, so that would have been the big Friday night episode that y'all did.
Yeah, so and it was at the end that I did that part.
Prairie Fire, can you pull up that episode and put it in both chats for people if they want to go in depth there on that one? And it's like the last hour and a half. And actually, I think Sean posted it separately.
Yes, he cut it out. He clipped it.
He cut that and clipped it.
Because everybody wanted that piece, right?
So if you could find that on Sean's channel, that would be...
It's also on mine. My husband clipped it too.
Oh, and on Feisty, or on Feisty's channel, whichever's easier. And Prairie Fire said, stand by.
Thank you.
That's my
So anyway, when I went through that list of the victims, I started to realize there's this other thing happening. They're all connected to World Without Exploitation, or as Sean kept saying, WWE. And World Without Exploitation is a Tide Center incubator. And meaning they're incubating the company. They financially are responsible for that company. And they're in the umbrella, the Tides umbrella. Tides Center, of course, is the sister organization to Tides Foundation. So as I go down this list of who's involved, what some of their background is, you realize that's not a very good thing. Well, World Without Exploitation, which every one of the victims is connected to, did a Netflix show called Surviving Epstein. It was a Netflix, very popular Netflix thing. So you can already save yourself the time. It's not going to tell you the truth.
No.
Well, it's at that time that Epstein and Bannon start talking about doing a counter to that to repair his reputation. So there's a lot of text between them discussing who they're going to talk to, who's going to be on the, who's going to be questioned, who's going to be on that show they do. And the whole purpose of that is to help him counter this thing that's coming out that's not true, and to kind of try to repair his reputation. What's interesting is that the day Epstein was arrested, of course, that all stopped. This is in July. In fact, the day before the day of his arrest, whatever that is, was their last conversation about this. And I'm sitting here going, okay, so Epstein did not kill himself, but you've already got a lot of footage, a lot of people that you talked to. Why didn't you put it out? Well, lo and behold, it's going to come out later this year. Don't you find that timing interesting?
Very interesting.
As we're all inundated with the propaganda as to who this person is, this public persona of a person that is something you were all disgusted by. And now we're going to close out this chapter with a video that tells you the truth.
Yeah, I do believe. Do you have those? Can you go just quickly through that email thread with Bannon and just for my people? I know your people have seen it, but just
which one are you talking about?
The one where he's a good guy.
Oh yeah,
because that blew me away. I was like, I never stopped to think about it in that way. That, man, we are really, I think, being inundated with noise so that we don't see the actual picture that's out there.
So let me show you.
Because I think that would blow some people's minds in my chat, at least, my people.
Okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I'm putting it up now as we speak.
Okay, let me make this bigger so you can follow along with me. This is a text message. The orange is Epstein and SB is Steve Bannon. It's from May 21st, 2018. Okay. He says, Steve Bannon says to Epstein, "You're one of the few who saw the buried lead. Are you still in Europe?" He says he's in Paris. And so the lead is this article, which I can't pull up. For some reason now all of a sudden it won't let me pull it up. But in this article from Axios, they're talking about the predicate to open the Russia investigation against Trump. And that predicate in the article, the very last paragraph, it says that there wasn't a proper predicate. So that was him, Steve Bannon, leaking to Axios. And so his response is, and if you can turn the witch hunt into the Dems drawn out cover up for the inappropriate surveillance, bingo, you now have motive. Now let me remind you of this date, 5/21/2018. Mueller had just been appointed special counsel 5 days earlier on the 16th. So this is about Mueller looking into the Russia investigation. And Epstein is telling Bannon, if you can turn the witch hunt into the Dems' drawn-out cover-up for the inappropriate surveillance, bingo. Remember what I just said to you. When Trump got elected, they had been illegally surveilling him. That's called fruit of the poisonous tree. They didn't have a predicate, nor did they have the authority to do what they did. In fact, in June of 2016, they tried to get a FISA, and the court uncustomarily denied it. So then in July, they opened up a Crossfire Hurricane investigation. But they couldn't get a FISA against Trump. So they got a FISA against Carter Page.
Yep.
And again, another story for another time, but there's a whole lot that goes to that. So anyway, that allowed them to continue to surveil the Trump circle, right? Because if you do a full FISA, everybody that Carter Page talked to, their communications would have been caught up in that FISA. So they're still surveilling. Trump gets elected. When he got elected, they're in panic mode. Trump knows what they're doing. So the next step then was to push for a special counsel because, Trump, he's a womanizer. And Russia, he colluded with Russia. So they gave them Mueller. Well, if you understand even a little bit about Mueller, you would have known right away he was a white hat. But even don't take my word for it. In the Epstein page, not Epstein, I'm sorry. In the Peter Strzok page text messages, you find a conversation going on between them on the 15th and 16th of May, where they're talking about how Mueller was in the White House Oval Office for over 5 hours. And you also find out that Mattis and Sessions were in that Oval Office with them. So what does that mean? Mueller was a captain in the Marines? He was an officer? Or was it a major? I know he was an officer in the military. He was called back into service. Why was Sessions in there? He got read on. The very next day, he's named as special counsel. So he got read on.
Yeah.
So now you know that story. And what is he doing? Well, I can show you more. Let me show you this. Where is it? Oh, wrong one. So there's 2 Q posts. Remember the Mueller Design 2 series, right? The Mueller Design 2 series came out before the 2776 post. So we're looking at 2397. And if you look at it, to take in evidence needed to expose the deep state, that's an answer to Barr's question, was the purpose of investigating to find a crime versus investigate evidence of a crime? And Mueller's response is to take in evidence needed to expose the deep state. I don't know why, but virtually everybody ignored that first line. And I have no clue why. And you find out as you go through that each of the posts in post 2397, line for line, match up to 2776 for answers to Barr.
So one's asking a question and the other is giving the answer.
This is the question. This is the answer. First post, then the second post. So we got the answers before we got the questions. Does that make sense?
Yep, I'm following along.
So all I'm saying is, if you have this understanding of what Mueller was doing, 5 days later, when Epstein and Bannon are talking about it, and they're talking about Mueller and the predicate and all that, when he says, and if you can turn the witch hunt, and he quotes it because that's what Trump started calling it, into the Dems' drawn out cover up for the inappropriate surveillance, bingo, you now have motive. Why would a bad guy be given that kind of advice? Right?
Yeah.
So now Steve Bannon's going, yes. And then Epstein responds, witch hunt has wobbly legs, a cover-up, classic, which it is. And it goes even further. Goes on to say, agreed, were the white where the Watergate burglars are appropriate. Now, how many times have we been told this is Watergate times 1,000,
Yep.
right? And so he goes on. Hold on. He goes on to say, yes, who knew what? Who knew what? He's laughing about the Tweedledees and Tweedledums. He's saying things are going to get more complex. Kathleen Rumler is actually a very good attorney, very highly respected. So I'm expecting to see that turn on its head. And they're talking about Susan Rice will need a very good lawyer.
Yeah, but
By the way, and then he goes on to say, after talking about how Susan Rice is going to need a very good lawyer, he goes, oh, by the way, you should suggest to Mnuchin to require all crypto transactions to be disclosed on your 1040 or sent in to an electronic server. No regs, just disclosure, first step. It will shut down most bad players. Well, this pokes hole into the money laundering story, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why would he be telling you how to catch him money laundering? I don't want the bad guys using these things. Wow, really? Pretty important, don't you think?
The bad guys.
Slowly increase disclosure and boil the frog.
Ooh, kind of like what we're going through now.
Right? He says, you can have Kudlow front the idea so he can masquerade as a creative. And these are just open questions. Added complications, jurisdiction, nominees, custodianship, power of attorney. These are all the things that have to be, when there's open questions, you have to be prepared to answer. Now you see why they are happy. I am on the side of goodness.
I want everybody to hear that again. Now you see why they are happy that I am on the side of goodness.
Right.
That's Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. And Bannon goes, he's not just on the side of goodness, he's on the side of goodness and light.
Shedding a light on all the little cockroaches.
Look at this. He also says Pompeo's great. Steve goes, hammer time. That's why I pointed out this. Because this is Barr. And hammer time literally is talking about all of this stuff. So why is Pompeo great? Well, because Pompeo's background. And I'll go through that here in a minute. Pompeo's background plays big in this. And this is Clapper was asked a question by Cuomo, and he didn't know what to say. And Chris Cuomo blew an opportunity. He's telling him about that. Why didn't they tell you? So have I at least presented credible information to show you that what you think you know about Epstein may not be accurate?
And please answer honestly in the chat. Are you seeing that maybe what the nonsense that has been spewed and put down your throat for the last 8-9 years now has been to push a narrative so that you wouldn't see the actual picture?
How do you say I'm Esme? I'm sorry. How do you say? I'm sorry.
He goes, it's Smay. We call him Smay.
Smay. Okay. I don't know how you can say he turned when this is all happening before any kind of agreements. I don't get it. Epstein developed his network, was an information broker long before anything happened in 2008. It seems to be too evil because, well, let me just point out, if he's as evil as you think, then I'm going to put the onus on you to prove to me that's true. I have yet to find it. In all honesty, it's not in the Epstein files. So I don't know what else to say.
And I'm just going to say that of a light or witnesses to his trips, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I just want everybody to remember the crap that was spewed about General Flynn.
Keep talking for a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay.
All of the stuff that was spewed about General Flynn and how he was a turncoat and he's doing all this stuff, but there was never any evidence to it. So we can't rely on what people are telling you is going on as opposed to live in your face reading stuff, because that's where we fall into traps. And who are these people that witnessed? Are they legitimate, or are these the people that are trying to accomplish narratives put out there to make you think what they want you to think? That's why I really felt it was imperative that people start looking at things from a 40,000 foot view and stop looking at things from what has been spewed with all of these influencers and videos, because this has been a psychological war for a long time. And if we don't learn how to pull ourselves out of that war, to at least get above the smoke and the nonsense and the BS, and look with a clear mind and not by what we've been told to think. Are y'all not hearing me? Let me know if y'all are hearing. What is this? Okay, Feisty stepped away for a minute. She'll be right back. Okay, 5 by 5. Thank you. Yes, just me. Feisty had to step away for a second. So, when she was explaining this the other day, it made sense, because everybody is spewing now that Steve Bannon is bad. Well, why are you saying Steve Bannon is bad? Because people are picking and choosing words that are in these text message exchanges. They're not giving you the full text message exchange. Bring you back up. I don't see you. All right, hold on, everybody. Oh, okay. She's having to come back in. So, oh, good Lord, no, we're not making me beg. I'm back, but removed from the stage. Feisty, your stuff kicked you out because it said your mic and stuff wasn't connected. And she's back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
It said that you deactivated your mic and your thing, and somehow it kicked you from the stage then.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. But I agree with what you were saying. One of the things that's going to be the hardest for people to do is to understand that propaganda was used to create a persona and a public image of somebody to serve their purpose, not yours.
Exactly.
And what is the purpose? We've had a lot of corruption in this country. In fact, you're seeing it in spades right now. And the goal this whole time was to use any and all means at their disposal to keep you from finding out about it. That's this perfect goal. So the timing of releasing the Epstein files, the timing of all of these congressional hearings, and quite frankly, the timing of even Steve Bannon's video on Epstein, the counter narrative, all tells me that we're at the end of this story. And if you're going to do yourself any favors, it's going to be, number one, to just clean everything out of your mind that you thought you knew. Because it's typically, and we've seen many examples of this, it's typically a 180 from what the truth is.
And I'm just going to tell all of my Q people, remember, the big one that always sticks in my mind is there are going to be a lot of people you thought were good that are bad, and a lot of
Right.
people that you were told were bad that are actually the good guys. So if you go in thinking and stop going by what everybody's telling you to think,
Hmm.
you'll start to see, okay, I was told to think Pompeo was bad. I was told to think Bill Barr was bad.
But we were told otherwise during the Q movement, and we supported them. And then all of a sudden, they became deep state.
Yep.
The black pillars, particularly, were spreading that he was deep state. And I haven't found anything that says otherwise. In fact, I found the opposite. I want to show you something. I'm going to go back to sharing. Okay.
Yep.
Share. Okay, this is a conversation between Epstein and Bannon again. CNN reporting Bill Barr. This is from December of 2018. This is Kavanaugh's now on the bench. We're heading into Christmas, right? This is right after Thanksgiving. CNN reporting Bill Barr. He goes, he did. Where do we stand on the film? Gloria Minsky, keep coming down, coming down, coming down. Correct. And he goes, I am only the talent. This is about, they're already talking about this movie that they're going to work on together. And he keeps, if you keep looking through this, they're talking about geopolitical stuff. Jacques Lang should be president. Le Pen should be seen to negotiate on behalf of the Vest, win all the way. Or Jacques Lang, a good guy. You see feds on Cohen. Great, super culture, very close friends. I mean, they're actually sharing geopolitical information. And then he comes into this one. This is interesting. You remember who Michael Cohen is?
Yep.
So let me give some background. I was talking about it today on my show. Michael Cohen's wealth, most of his wealth, was in what they call taxi medallions. A taxi medallion is basically a license to run taxis in New York City. And they became a commodity worth hundreds of thousands of dollars until New York City introduced Lyft and Uber. And all of a sudden, the value of the medallions plummeted to near zero because you don't need those medallions anymore. Well, it created a huge problem for Michael Cohen. So what they tried to do was get Michael Cohen to flip on Trump. But in order to flip on Trump, he would have had to give up some goods on his own family. So he only partially cooperated. And as a result of that partial cooperation, he ended up in, having his own prison sentence. So there's your background. They stuck it to Cohen. He chose not to be a cooperating witness. Needed to save his relatives. So take 3 months off of a 4.5-year sentence. I'm confused about Cohen. What are the docs telling us? And he says, 2 big issues. Now, this is Bannon asking Epstein. 2 separate issues. He is a tax evading crook, which is true. Big penalty. He did not cooperate fully. He said Trump directed campaign violations and other officials knew of this lie telling with regard the Moscow project. Tax evasion 53 months, take off 5, so recommended 4 years and lying to Congress. No biggie, as they recommend serving concurrently. Basically, they said that he refused to cooperate, which have required him turning in his relatives. Okay, so in order not to give up the ghost on his relatives, he's already a tax evading crook, meaning his family's got some other issues, right? And rather than turn in those relatives for their part, he only cooperated partially. But the moron had to negotiate all this away by serving up Trump. He said, as he refused to be a cooperating witness, his testimony is not valuable, but he gave them plenty. Wiseman despises him. Crooked attorney.
Very intriguing.
Isn't that? We know Weissman is as corrupt as they come, right?
Yep.
But he didn't refuse. He rolled. Not fully under the regs. To fully cooperate, you need to bend over and answer all the questions about anyone, including your wife. After all this, he stiffed them. He goes, yep.
It just blows me away.
That Epstein knows this stuff?
Right. We're not being shown the full story for a reason.
Right.
And now they're giving it to you, and still people are not wanting to see it because they're still falling back on that. I don't want to say lazy, but that fall back and let's just believe what everybody's
The hardest
saying.
thing for people to recognize is they've been duped on everything, right?
Exactly. Or to be able to say, man, I might have been wrong about that.
Right?
Because I can tell you I was wrong about Epstein. This has been very, very eye-opening to me. I started a while back when Feisty started bringing up Epstein before the files ever dropped. I started thinking, okay, I'm looking at this from the point of view of somebody who's been told what Epstein was.
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually seen any proof of it, hard proof. I'm just going by what I'm being told.
Right.
So let's back out of what I'm being told, clear my complete mind of it, and look at things with clear eyes, not having any skin in the game.
Well, one of the things I also remember is we always talk about the media being corrupt. Fake news, right? But the only information out there about Epstein until the Epstein files dropped is what? Fake news.
Exactly.
We're stuck to looking at Miami Herald, CBS.
The ones they want you to look at.
Right. The mouthpieces of who? The deep state.
Carrie Lake said Feisty's husband sent me.
Say what?
Carrie Lake over on Pilled said
Yeah.
Feisty's husband sent me.
Oh, they must have just finished the rosary. My husband picked up the rosary tonight because I was joining you.
Yeah. Well, welcome in, Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
All right.
So-
So
This is October of 2018. We've got Kavanaugh on the hot seat in Congress. The white woman must be believed regarding rape. Should strike a chord with the blacks. Steve Bannon goes, love that. Imagine if Kavanaugh were a poor black man and the cry, ignite the no corroboration. The rich white lady must be believed. He's going, Kill a Mockingbird. You know, that's Atticus Finch, right?
mm-hmm.
Remember that? Great movie, by the way. And Epstein says, Kill a Mockingbird starring Cory Booker.
Booker.
Dem response, looking at our society and the ubiquity of sexual violence, looking at the extent to which women are presumptively challenged and men presumptively exonerated. Obviously, he wasn't presumptively exonerated, so it would be a sore spot for him, right? There are opportunities to deploy the Atticus Finch analogy for those who want to use. It's not in defense of Brett Kavanaugh. And then he goes on. They start talking geopolitical stuff. He keeps going, and he comes back to it eventually. But this is geopolitical stuff. One of the things Epstein is extremely well connected around the world.
And that's the point that people are losing. Okay, they're thinking he's important because he was trafficking and all. No, he was important because he created his own Davos-like, as you put it, entity. He was powerful. Think about Davos. He created.
Well, explain what Davos is, right? Davos is a place where businessmen can come together and basically pitch their service to heads of state or representatives in countries. It's It's a big trade show. Davos is the world's largest trade show. That's all it is. And what Epstein wanted to do, because he didn't like the Davos crowd, actually, he says that elsewhere. What he did is he made his own Davos, if you will, where he created a network with political and business entities, forces, people, and he used that in his for Epstein. Power is influence, and influence is information. He says it here. This is a movie or an interview they want to do with Epstein, and this is the guy that's going to do it. Power, probably of most interest to Jeff, is knowledge, social influence, informal power, ability to set the rules, as opposed to military power, force, financial power, etc. Stephen Lukes at NYU might be good to talk to. He wrote a famous book on power in the 70s, and he's asking Epstein. Epstein corrects the record. I think power should be thought of as cross disciplines. Physics, money, intellectual, it's all the same. It has an effect on the immediate environment. We should first define it, then have different fields discussed. Let's see if there are useful metaphors. So what he's saying is power is information more than anything, and you need it and information, it depends on who's got the information and under what context that information is. Does that make sense?
It does to me, but let me just address something. Okay. So again, I keep telling everybody, especially the people that know me, and take no offense by this because we were all guilty of it. Pull yourself out of what you're being told by influencers and media. I wouldn't call Steve Bannon a mole. I would say Steve Bannon is playing a part.
Yes.
Not a mole. He's playing
not a mole.
Part to make this come to a conclusion. Which is why I think his movie is going to come out at the end of the year, because I think we're going to have a whole lot of exposure come out before the end of the year. And then his movie is going to come out, and I think it's going to help us make sense of all of the exposure. So I want people to stop using the keywords and term words that other influencers are using and come to this with, like I said, a new mind, a new way of looking at it, with no predisposed ideas of what people have told you. Because if you do, I promise you, by the end of tonight, you're going to be like, holy crap, I was way off on what I thought.
Well, I don't know. I mean, people will dig in. They have their opinions, and that's fine. But I will encourage you to remember that what you think you know doesn't fit what you're watching happen. That's why there's so much confusion. That's part of the reason for all the chaos.
Yes.
Right? You know, when what you're seeing and hearing doesn't match the story, it throws everything out of whack. I hope that makes sense.
It does to me.
So this is a letter, an email from Ken Starr to Jeffrey Epstein. Remember, this email got sent into a text messages to Bannon after this. This is Ken Starr saying that Kavanaugh is the best, very courageous, return to Clinton, happy to discuss. I wanted to point it out because this is July 4th. Kavanaugh wasn't even announced until July 9th. So there's some inside baseball going on here.
5 days later, so how did he know?
How did he know? It means there's some inside baseball going on. And Kavanaugh is telling Epstein the best.
Whew.
Epstein turns around and says to Bannon, reliable, Chevron. Can you talk long game? It's right there.
Yeah, it again, feisty, mad respect. The way you can connect. That's why I was telling everybody, you're not going to want to miss this.
Mhm.
There is nobody, and I repeat, nobody. I've been doing this now for.
Well, I looked up because after sending this on the 4th, Ken Starr then says to Jeffrey Epstein, spectacular. Why? Kavanaugh went from being the second choice to the first choice the very next day.
And Amy got kicked down to the next slot.
Mhm.
And she was supposed to be the top slot.
She was actually on the short list, yes.
So there's a reason for it.
Well, let history inform us, in hindsight. Was it on your bingo card to have Kavanaugh would have a calendar that dated back to his youth?
No, that one blew me away. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that there are a lot of people that are playing in or involved in this in ways that we do not understand. So let's not judge everybody until actual definitive evidence drops, because this is look, if we don't get our country back, we're done. So
here's another one for you. This is Epstein to Bannon, December of 2018. He says, do you know Bill Barr? CIA. And what is he doing? He's forwarding a message from Alex Acosta. You remember who Alex Acosta is, right?
yes.
Alex Acosta is the U.S. attorney that was a part of the non-prosecution agreement for Epstein. Do you know who crafted the non-prosecution agreement? Ken Starr.
Oh, that's right. I remember hearing you say that earlier, and I was like,
So
what?
Ken Starr is the architect of the non-prosecution agreement. This is going to answer one of those other questions I keep getting asked. Doesn't that tell you that they wanted a bad boy persona?
And why would they want that bad boy persona?
How many doors open with a bad boy persona that wouldn't open if you were a good boy? We know that he actually leveraged Stefan Halper's network, because Stefan Halper had a network too. And if anybody thinks that Donald Trump doesn't have one of these networks, think again. You don't become billionaires by being out of touch.
No.
Right? So this is how you become, not just become wealthy, but maintain your wealth. You've got to be on top of what's going on all around the world. And it's probably how and why Trump and Epstein actually met, to be very honest, is they were part of each other's network. But we also know that Stefan Halper is not one of the clean guys. But he actually didn't start interfacing with Epstein until after the prosecution agreement. Don't you find that interesting?
Yeah, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Bought his way out of a lawsuit. Yeah.
I don't think he bought his way out of a lawsuit.
I don't either.
But anyway, the other thing about Alex Acosta, which is important, and this will feed into why Epstein asked the question the way he did. Alex Acosta had said back in the day, he was told to leave Epstein alone, that he was a high-value asset for the government. You remember? I don't know if you remember that.
I remember hearing that.
Okay, so the Costa thing, lead prosecutor, now Secretary of Labor. When Trump brought Acosta into the administration as Secretary of Labor, I even said to my husband, this one makes no sense to me, because Acosta had absolutely zero labor experience. It says, let Epstein off with a ridiculously lenient sentence despite having committed hideous sex offenses with dozens of minors. It's 2018. Epstein received a sentence of 13 months in jail, during which he was often free during the day. This is from December of 2018. Who just got on the bench? Kavanaugh. They're losing the Chevron. They know that. Look what they're doing here. They're painting a picture.
Anytime that they're about to lose something big, they will put something up as another distraction, which is why we have to be so careful.
One of the things, and I got to see if I can find it, Epstein talks to Bannon and says, I talked to the prosecutor today. No, wrong one. He's talked to the prosecutor today. He said, no, wrong one. I got so many windows open. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, this should tell you, when I tell you that she digs, she digs.
Okay, Wise, thank you. I wish there was a way to search my tabs, and I can't.
What do you got, like 50 tabs open?
Yeah, I got about 30 windows open with about 20 tabs, 30 tabs each. I'm trying to find a specific one. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Look, you know your crew don't mind. My crew, trust me, they're patient. They've had to deal with me learning how to stream. They're patient.
We've had to do the same for me.
Patience is a virtue in streaming.
I'm trying to find. Okay. So Epstein, this isn't a text message. What page am I on? 3. Text message is sent to Steve Bannon December of 2018. I just showed you the Alex Acosta update, which is over here. Okay. So this is December 5th. And Epstein says it's the Alex Acosta update. Considering op-ed by Ken Starr and or Dershowitz, considering a law review article, an independent inquiry into the fact that this penalty was for prostitution and harshest ever meted out. I've been asked, what can I give them on DJT? Thoughts are little to do while the incoming is so heavy, but will hire PR and have to think with group on the way forward. So they were talking about going easy on him if he gave up dirt on Donald Trump. And this is not Acosta per se. These are the prosecutors down in Southern District of Florida. And then he says he's in a hard place to be. And then he gets the local prosecutor's call. Local prosecutor called, said, your punishment was miles above anyone similarly situated. Did you hear that? His 18 months sentence was too harsh. As their sex prosecutor that actually interviewed the girls said there were no real victims, only prostitutes.
Oh.
This is December of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are in December, and then you're looking at, that's a useless one. You're looking at the Acosta update. What does it say? Epstein received a sentence of 13 months in jail, during which he was often free during the day, but of a lawsuit given some of his victims the opportunity to testify about his predatory and criminal conduct. Have people forgotten that every one of these girls even said out loud they were all paid? What was the average price they were paid? $200.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed to be his flat fee. And this bad person insisted that they be 18 years of age, and it was, in fact, the prosecutor talked to the girls, found out many of them lied about their age. That's also in a DOJ report. Most of them lied that were actually underage. They would say they were 18 and they were 16, 15, whatever.
And also,
am I giving, and please understand, I am not giving Epstein a pass.
Nope.
This man was in his 30s, diddling with women half his age. And I personally have a problem with objectifying women to the point where you just pop it off and go wherever you want. I have a problem with that. What that says about the person, what it says about Epstein, is he has almost no respect for women, in my view.
Yep.
And so my personal opinion of Epstein is he's not a good guy. Somebody may think he's a good guy. People liked him. He was affable, whatever. But his sexual proclivities tell me he had no respect for women. I want no part of him. I don't want to be anywhere near him. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I get tired of, the women are objectified.
Oh.
And it's been normalized so badly that it doesn't even occur to anybody that it's happening. So
on purpose,
his proclivities may not have been nearly as bad as they've been painted, but for me, it's still a line I won't cross. I hope that makes sense.
I agree with that 100%.
Okay. So I hope that puts me in a different place with some people's thinking, because I'm not in any way giving Epstein a pass.
No.
I find his behavior abhorrent, to be very honest.
I'm a firm believer that we need to make a shirt that says "Make millstones great again."
Make millstones great again. I've been using that term a lot lately myself.
So.
Well, I want to point out something. Epstein says to Bannon, "Do you know Bill Barr? CIA." And it's separated. You see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your first thought?
My first thought would be intelligence somehow countering something. Bill Barr has always been elusive for me because, being completely honest, having to play the fence on other people's opinions of him. And so I need to see a more clear picture of Bill Barr, minus other people's, perceptions of him. So as far as I'm concerned, people like Pompeo, Bill Barr, I have no opinion saying one way or the other. I'm kind of like in the middle on those topics, because I only caught a part of the Bill Barr conversation that you had, so I didn't get the totality of the Bill Barr one.
Actually, personally, I like Bill Barr. I find him to be intelligent, reasoned. He knows his stuff. He's a hell of an attorney, too. But in the Epstein story, other things come up. This is, in this email, the Alex Acosta update, this is the article they're referencing. And this is a Powerline blog. And they're suggesting Epstein's decision to buy his way out of a civil suit. I'm going to just stop right there. This is in 2018. What they're talking about right there is Virginia Giuffre. He decided to settle out of court with her. Okay? He got the non-prosecution agreement. He got his 13, 18 months in jail. But then he settles out of court. And so that's what they're saying, is he's buying his way out of a civil suit. There's more to that story. But his questioning whether or not Bannon knows Barr, CIA. In September, Bill Barr testified. September 25.
Yep.
Okay. In that, he talked about Epstein. And we've heard this in the past because Acosta told us that he was told to lay off Epstein because he was a high-value asset. Okay. So Barr, in his testimony in August, says, Barr noted that the CIA has a specific unit dedicated to talking with well-connected individuals. So it's a tactic that Bill Barr would know. Got it?
Yep.
He pointed to Epstein's long-rumored links to intelligence agencies, knowing that these connections could be explained by his position, right, within a network of influential figures.
The key part there.
Mm-hmm.
Network of influential figures.
Now, he's talking about Epstein's network. While Bill Barr admitted a relationship was possible, he emphasized that he saw no evidence of an official intelligence operation.
Oh, that kind of kills the whole CIA, Mossad.
Well, no, not completely.
No?
Get around that. One of the things, and you got to go back up here, Barr noted the CIA has a specific unit dedicated to talking with well-connected individuals.
I just
Is
got
Epstein well-connected? Epstein's network. He's well-connected. It's a global network.
I have to tell you what Dumpy just said in the pill chat. Feisty just likes Barr because he reminds her of Ralphie in A Christmas Story.
Thanks, Dumpy.
Oh, Dumpy cracks me up.
Dumpy likes trolling me. I don't even have my Pilled open, so I can't see those.
I know, that's why I'm telling you, because I know you have Rumble open, but you don't have Pilled open.
Right. So what I'm getting at is Barr knows that there is a group that is specifically in the CIA that's specifically dedicated to talking with connected individuals. Think Stefan Halper. Think Epstein. Think Donald Trump. These are people that are well connected. They have their own Davos-like entities, right? They have their own networks that they've built. And the CIA uses them to get information. You don't have to be a red-on source to be one of these well-connected individuals.
Yep.
Okay. He also said links to intelligence agency acknowledging that these connections could be explained by his position within a network of influential figures. So in other words, they were able to say to him, hey, Jeffrey, did you hear about, and he'll say, well, yeah, I know this, I know this, I know that. In fact, if you look through the Bannon emails, it's exactly what Bannon was doing. Right?
Yeah, from what I've seen.
Tapping in to an individual who's well connected.
Network. Yeah.
Networking. So you don't have to be an official intelligence asset. You can be an informal intelligence asset, which is what I think Epstein is. And that would help explain some of these emails where he's talking about how to rein in the crypto fraud that's going on, how to, when they're going back and forth about the witch hunt and how to solve that problem. Where you got Epstein telling Bannon, Kavanaugh's good, Chevron. Obviously, Epstein knows that there's a goal to overturn Chevron in 2018. And obviously, Ken Starr is informed of the behind-the-scenes machinations, and he pushed for Kavanaugh and got him, which means Ken Starr is well regarded. Who is Ken Starr? Jeffrey Epstein's own attorney at this point.
So is everybody getting that? Especially my people? Are you seeing the thread, the connections that Feisty is making here? Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions? Like him when I saw him satire Congress asking questions. Mm-hmm. Not sure.
Whenever Congress brought him forward,
Yeah.
they would try to get him to admit to something or do something, and he would fire back. He had them. They could not. None of the times he went before Congress did the Democrats survive his thrashing.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to make sure that everybody's seeing and that, it's not too fast.
I hope so. I mean, I'm hoping I'm presenting it.
I mean, to me, it makes all sense, but, this is like my second time hearing it now. So.
I think that's all I have right now.
Yeah. I just.
So, I mean, I'm going to stop sharing.
I don't think he is what we were led to believe he was, or what was implied. I think this is going to break open into a...
So let's go backwards. When they say Watergate times 1,000, what was Watergate about?
Spying, or supposed spying.
It was illegal surveillance.
And there was a whole lot of that going on. A whole lot of that.
Mm-hmm. They took the campaign stuff from one campaign. You got DebateGate. You got all these other things that are going. You got Woodward. He's all involved in that. What are they doing? They're using the agencies to do illegal things, illegal surveillance. So if you got a Watergate times 1,000, doesn't that pretend that this is illegal surveillance around the world?
There we go. That brings in the worldwide part that everybody's missing. It's not just us. It's this is happening everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
However, Feisty and I talked about this morning. Everybody with the burn the system down thing, if you do that, you will cause chaos to the whole world. Mm-hmm. We should take care of those involved in our country and stay out of what other countries should deal with just for, what is it, being political and being able to keep the doors open. You don't air your neighbor's dirty laundry.
Well, no, yeah, we talked about that this morning. It would lock us out of the global diplomacy.
That's efforts. The word I was looking for.
If we don't, if we want to be a player in the diplomatic arena, then you play that game carefully, and you don't air your neighbor's dirty laundry. They air it with you. You let them air theirs, you air yours.
The people that have been arrested, and I'm not sure that we're not being fed a story with that too, because I just don't see how they had state secrets to peddle. However, their countries are taking care of them. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, well, if they can arrest people, why aren't we? Look, if my opinion, and I will counter it as my opinion, turns out to be correct, this is going to be done in one fell swoop type of thing, because I think the case is going to be laid out as a grand conspiracy, or what's the other one they call it, where they're going to tie everything, the election fraud, the illegal surveilling, all the things that were done illegally, into one case to handle here. Mm-hmm. And whatever happens on the other people on the other side of the world, that's their problem to take care of. We need to worry about what's going on right here in our own backyard.
And let me also add this. The Leviathan we're fighting is global.
Leviathan.
In fact, it's a transnational group. In other words, they adhere to no state borders. They are not sovereign or loyal to any country, any sovereign country. This is a group that amasses power by corrupting governments and uses that government to its bidding. Okay? So while we don't have the right to address another country's dirty laundry, we are very much a part of this coalition of countries that's taking this down. So we are working together.
Right.
Completely and totally. This is where if China, Russia, and others are working together, are coordinating with POTUS to eliminate the New World Order. That's what this is about. So while we may be working on our aspects here, don't think it's not in sync with what's being worked on in another country.
No, I absolutely believe
Because
that.
if we weren't coordinating this, it would move from one to the next to the next, and it would just keep going around in a circle.
And they would be filling the spots as we went along.
And we saw proof of that with Kash Patel, with his testimony in September, or October rather, when it happened over the weekend, Labor Day weekend. Remember? We sent the Armada down off the coast of Venezuela to the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
And what was passed around on X was, in Spanish, Trump is dead. The very next day, it was in English, but it was coming out of India. Okay. Drugs. Venezuela shut down. Kash Patel is in China working with his counterpart there to get rid of the companies, to go after the companies with the fentanyl precursors. And he said it in the hearing, they left China, went up to India, and a hashtag on Saturday said Trump is dead. So that was drug traffickers running. I mean, it's pretty clear to put together.
Duppy, of course, put a question over. Was Epstein's persona as a pimp/trafficker necessary for him to penetrate the bad guy circles, i.e., was it a cover?
I believe so. That's what I've been saying.
That's how I see it.
I don't see him as... there's no evidence that he's trafficked anybody. And think about it. What did they say? There's no evidence that Epstein trafficked anybody to a third party other than himself. In other words, he procured a prostitute. We know in 2008 he did. Did he do it after that? I have a hard time believing that. He got a very stiff penalty back in 2008. So I don't know. That said, that persona was created by who? His own attorney.
Yeah, so that's how I'm viewing it now, as having my eyes open, is if you're going to infiltrate people that are bad, you can't come off looking like a clean, good person, because they're not going to want to have anything to do with you because they know you're going to turn them in. You're going to have somebody who appears to be as compromised, depraved, willing to do things that most people wouldn't. Then you'll work with them. So I do see that it was a persona created for him to infiltrate even further.
Well, it gave him access to networks. Like I said, with a bad boy persona, the darker networks would have accepted him.
Yeah.
So that's where you could also use the media to your favor, which would help explain why, after the Florida court opened those records, he was squirreled out of that prison.
I do believe, like I said, I hope that me bringing Feisty on, which has been a dream for me, just going to say it.
I'm sorry.
No, what are you sorry for? But the reason I was really wanting you is because I want my people that follow me to see what you have seen, because I think you lay it out perfectly. You have everything behind you, and like I said, the picking and choosing of what people are putting out there irritates me to no end, because it's like, okay, you're putting that out there, but what is the rest? Kind of like reading the Bible. Just gonna say, where you pick a verse and you preach on it, but you're not preaching the entire verse.
Right.
Only chosen words. You're doing a disservice to God. It's the same thing here. When you pick and choose because it fits your narrative, you're not helping the movement in moving forward. You are patting yourself on the back, joining the crowd. I don't even know how to put it nicely, but you're not helping if you're not going to be willing to look into the full picture of it. And
we can't stop other people. I'm not here to.
No, opinions are opinions.
People are going to do what they're going to do. I'm just going to tell you this. When the narrative's flying around and there's never want for an opportunity for a new one.
Nope.
When they start flying around, when they stop connecting, you've gone down the wrong rabbit hole. And if you can't see how the Trump presidency was a true threat and why, and what they've done to try to mitigate that true threat, from the Russia collusion to the sexual perversion, they tried to link him to Epstein every way you can. And they could still be friends for all I know. I have no clue. The fact that the Mueller stuff, the Zelensky stuff, the COVID stuff coming into the election fraud and trying to keep him off the ballot, debanking him, going after him with, legal issues against him. None of them made sense, but they were throwing everything they could find at him. At some point, you got to step back and say, not only, you just got to understand it's connecting, but why? What was the purpose? And you got to start to learn to separate those out. The Epstein story was a part of the Get Trump story. They needed it. And the truth of the matter is, when you recognize that Epstein is a information broker building his network, it makes total sense.
It does. It really does. I just, like I said, my whole goal, one, I wanted to meet Feisty for a long time. So thank you guys.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you.
That has happened. And the bigger picture is, I wanted the people that follow me to see you. And by the way, if you are not following Feisty, I've had it scrolling along the bottom for you. Please follow her. She does a dig every week with her Telegram chat, which is amazing to watch. She's also on with Sean on Mondays on Feisty Digs, which is my favorite show. And then she comes on every other week. She had to do a fill-in last week with It Needed to Be Said, which also is a great show with Feisty and Sean. But these are her channels.
Last week I was filling in for Johnny, so
yeah.
Tomorrow I'm on his Lifting the Veil.
And that's
next week. Next week it'll be It Needed to Be Said. We do John and I do 2 shows a week, and then my show on Wednesday afternoons, of course.
After Patriot Theater, of course. Duppy is over there hard trolling you, Feisty.
Yeah, I can't see him, so he can't be trolling me.
Yeah. She can't see you. Telegram's the best place. Yes, I'm going to get with Feisty sometime in the next couple of days to get her to help me get back on Telegram with a way that I won't get spammed to death.
Yeah, you didn't set up well. We'll get you figured out.
And because I would love to be back on Telegram. So.
That's where if you want to find me, that's the best place. Because I have voice, I have posting, I can do threads, we have conversations. So for me, the best place to be is on Telegram. I don't even like X, to be very honest.
Okay, I'm going to ask, Prairie Fire, do you remember how you raid on... I've never been able to get it to work, but I'm all for giving it.
I don't know how to do it either, so.
I can raid on Pilled. It's on Rumble. I forget if it's a mark and then space. I don't know. One of these days I'll figure it out. One of these days.
Just tell everybody that's what I do. I don't know how to raid, guys, so just find your way over too.
Yeah, if I'm sending everybody on Pilled over to America Rising Media on Rumble. It's America Rising Media. It's the nightly news, my favorite news. So, Smay, you're welcome. That was my whole point. Can you ask that again? I'm on the phone and can't interrupt my friend. Yes, I was asking if you know how to raid on Rumble. He does multitasking quite well. Prairie Fire. And Smay's going to his work. Thank you for joining me, Smay. So, I
appreciate having been asked to come on. I hope I satisfied a couple of things for you.
You more than satisfied, and I'm hoping that it opens some people's eyes, because if you can pull yourself up and out, and like I said, go in looking without any predetermined things, you can see connections a lot better. So that's Feisty. Thank you for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I've heard it's a thing, then space, then the link to the stream. That's what I've heard too, but so I'm just gonna see, then a space, then the link to the stream. So we'll give it a shot here and see. I doubt it, because I have tried before. Don't you have to put the word raid? I think you have to write the word raid. /raid. And then the live stream. Yep. Sorry, Feisty. I'm trying to give this a shot. I'm dying to be able to.
Well, I hope you figure it out. And then you have to show me.
All right, let's see. I don't know. We'll see if that works. All right, everybody. Gonna say goodnight. Feisty, again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Everybody hang tight over on Pilled. We're going over to Sean. I don't know if Johnny's with him or not. And everybody have a great night. Feisty, go get some rest. You're going to need it.
I know. Talk to you all later.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul. You gotta find your people, the ones that get the joke, who understand what you're saying for a word is smoke. You gotta find your people, to put the needle in the groove. When you're together, you got nothing to prove. When you're together, you got nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself. You gotta find your people that'll call your bluff, who'll ride along when the road is rough. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel equal. They pick you up and don't put you down. Help you find your way in the lost and found. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself. tell you the truth and wish you well. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself. You gotta find your people, then you'll find yourself.